Becky is really annoyed with her childhood friend, but ever since he threatened to commit suicide, she's changed. She's become so indulgent towards him. Even when he scratched my face, she just shielded him behind her. He's close to death. Who cares about these petty issues? So, I let it go and quietly left her world. One late night, she saw one of the most powerful women in her circle announce her relationship. I was there, wearing a fine men's shirt, nestled beside the woman, kissing her cheek. It was pouring rain that night, but Becky went crazy and came banging on her door. "Baby, I know you're just trying to make me mad. Come out, let's talk, please." Becky has this annoying childhood friend, and whenever we'd hang out, he'd always find a way to tag along. One day, she and I went to watch a new movie, and on our way, Henry had already called 3 times. Becky didn't hesitate to block him on Instagram. Ruffling my hair, she said, "Don't worry, I have a boyfriend. I have to keep my distance from any old buddies." Just after the movie ended, she got a call from an unknown number. When she answered, it was her pesky childhood friend Henry again. "Becky, where are you? I told you I'm on a date with my boyfriend. Stop calling me. Don't you understand plain English?" He sounded on the verge of tears. "Wait, don't hang up. I really have something important to tell you." Becky hesitated for a moment but then cut the call. Her brows furrowed like she was worried about something. When I asked her several times if the shirt looked good on me, it took her a while to shake out of her daze. "It looks good on you, you look great in anything." I changed back to my original clothes. "Why do you seem so troubled? Are you really worried about him?" She paused and kissed my forehead. "Worrying about him? Why? Then why are you so distracted? Forget him, he's just being dramatic." Our date continued. At 9 p.m., there was a fireworks show by the city's moat, and the dazzling lights sparkled in people's eyes. I held Becky's arm, taking photos, but soon her phone started buzzing again in her pocket. This time it was Henry's mom. Whatever she said on the other end made Becky's eyes widen in shock, her face turning pale. "Okay, Auntie, I'll come right now." I asked her what happened. "Henry tried to kill himself. I need to go to the hospital." "Why would he do that? Just because you didn't answer his calls? That's way too extreme." She ran her hand through her hair, frustrated. "I don't know, but either way I have to go. Do you want to come with me?" Even though I didn't want to, I was curious about what new tricks Henry might be pulling. Opening the hospital room door, we saw Henry with red eyes, his wrists bandaged. He struggled to sit up. "Becky, you're here." Then, as soon as she got close, he pulled her into an embrace. "I knew you cared about me." The sight made me uncomfortable, but Becky didn't push him away. She just sighed, full of exasperation. "Henry, do you know how childish you're being? Trying to kill yourself over me is nonsense. It wasn't just because of you." He looked timidly at me. "Can you step outside for a minute? I just want to talk to her alone." Waiting outside for about 10 minutes, Becky came out looking really serious. I wasn't curious about his so-called secret. I just wanted to know when we could leave. "Are you guys done talking? Can we go home now? I've been out all day, I'm tired." It's not that I'm heartless. Henry's constant calls and deliberate harassment wore out any goodwill I had for him. Not to mention how, when Becky first introduced me, he shook my hand with a bright smile but secretly squeezed my hand hard. Childish games. "Henry has stomach cancer," Becky suddenly said. My heart skipped a beat, and I started to doubt if that was true. He tried to kill himself because he sees himself as a burden. It's my fault. If only I answered his calls, he might have had someone to talk to. His mom is a single parent. Without me, he had no hope. He feels like a burden, and that pushed him to suicide. "This isn't your fault," I tried to comfort her. "No one could have seen this coming. But Henry relies on me. I'm like a sister to him. And since being with you, I haven't paid him much attention. I feel so damn guilty." A cold wind blew down the corridor, chilling something inside me. I didn't speak. Becky didn't notice anything, lost in her guilt and self-blame. She seemed closed off, not hearing anything around her. Henry's voice came from the room. "Becky, can you stay with me tonight? I really didn't mean to trouble you. It's just my mom needs to work late at the market." "It's okay. I'll stay here with you. I'm not going anywhere. Started pouring rain outside again. I checked my watch. I'm heading back. Go ahead. She was still bent over, tucking Henry in, not even looking at me. His eyes were glued to her, full of dependency. If this woman wasn't my friend, I might have been moved by this cozy scene. It's 10:30 now. I reminded her, Becky, are you really going to let me go home alone? Henry mumbled softly, bro, I get off work at 11 usually, and I always go home by myself. I glanced at him. If you don't have a girlfriend to walk you home, that's not my problem. Becky frowned, pulling out her phone and scrolling through her contacts. Let me have Molly take you home. She's my bestie and she's pretty free usually. Molly, a star at our university and also a young elite from a city's wealthy circles. Becky is currently working at Molly's family's company. Molly, what are you up to? Do me a favor. A lazy voice answered on the line. It's late, I'm gonna sleep. Can it wait until tomorrow? I never expected her to go to bed so early, but I wasn't interested in bothering anyone late at night. I told Becky. Forget it, I can get back by myself, no need to hassle anyone else. Becky was about to hang up when Molly jumped in. Wait, were you thinking I could help out? Could you come over and take my boyfriend home? I'll treat you to dinner later, how about that? Sure, send me the location. She jumped right at the chance for a free meal. Felix, wait for her here. All right? I'm going in to check on Henry. Becky gave my head a comforting pat and turned into the hospital room. I was left frustrated, pacing around in agitation. Becky often joked about how Molly was a heartbreaker, so it surprised me how chill she was about Molly taking me home. But Becky was super confident, telling me, Molly might be a bit carefree, but she's reliable. Don't worry about it. Molly showed up faster than I expected. She had that eye-catching face, and when she smiled, her eyes seemed to hint at some mischief. I waved her over, Molly, over here. Felix. Yeah. I nodded. Thanks for helping out. She chuckled lightly, no problem. I went back to the hospital room to find Becky. Henry was clinging to her arm, and he smiled when he saw me come in. Bro, you haven't left yet? I ignored him and turned to Becky. She's here to pick me up. I'm heading out. Becky nodded towards Molly. Take care of my boyfriend. All right? Molly smirked. Don't worry. I'll take good care of him. I couldn't tell if it was my imagination, but it seemed like her words had a double meaning. She grabbed my bag. Let's go. I'll get you home. We walked to the underground parking lot, and Molly opened the car door for me. Thanks. I got in and she moved over to the driver's seat. Still thinking about what happened at the hospital, I stared out the window, completely missing her telling me to buckle up. A whiff of cedar hit me as she leaned over to fasten my belt for me. I glanced down and locked eyes with her deep, dark gaze. Felix, is it fun pretending not to know me? My scattered thoughts snapped into focus. I gave her a slight smile. Long time no see, sis. After my parents divorced, my mom sent me to live with her best friend, who was Molly's mom. I lived there for 7 years, from age 10 to 17. Molly's just a year older than me. I always called her sis during that time. When my parents got back together in my junior year, I moved out. Around then, Molly went off to college in another city. After that, we barely saw each other. It wasn't until I started dating Becky and got dragged to a friend's gathering that we reconnected. Molly seemed more stylish than before, but her attitude towards me was way different, cold and distant. I figured she had forgotten about the kid who used to wait outside her classrooms every day to walk her home. So, I pretended not to recognize her too. I never expected her to come pick me up today. Oh, so you do remember me. The streetlights flickered through her pale fingers as she drove. Yeah, how could I not? But you ignored me the other day. She laughed but didn't really answer. Felix, your choice in girlfriends seems a bit off. I shot her a look. Oh, and you've got high standards for boyfriends? Sorry, I'm single, so that ain't an issue for me. I didn't buy it. Single? Really? Back in high school, she was super popular with guys. She'd get love letters left and right. Thanks to her, even some girls used to give me snacks to get on her good side. When I was in junior year, I heard my mom chatting with Molly's mom about her getting a boyfriend in college. I sulked for days. So her saying she's single now left me doubtful. Why would I lie to you? Fair enough. As I got out of the car, the door handle stuck. Leaving without exchanging numbers? Not long after getting home, Becky called me. Did you make it home safe? Yeah, I'm home. You're not coming back tonight? Nope. Henry needs someone, and I can't just leave him. You get some rest, don't worry about me. After showering, I checked Henry's latest post and was surprised. Yet not really. When we first connected on social media, his privacy settings kept me from seeing any updates. Nothing compares to your companionship. It was accompanied by a picture of Becky sleeping next to his hospital bed. There was a peace sign hand gesture near her head. The caption had a weirdly smug vibe to it. Suddenly, I got a bunch of notifications on my feed. Molly had liked several of my old posts, but strangely skipped over the ones with Becky, our couple photos, and lovey-dovey stuff. I had no idea what she was getting at there. A few days later, Henry got discharged. According to reports, he was already in the late stages of stomach cancer. Doctors advised against further treatment. Just eat, drink, and be merry. Becky turned down loads of work, saying she wanted to spend his last days together with him. At first, I let it slide. After all, he didn't have long left. But then I noticed he was pretty much monopolizing Becky's free time. Several times, she'd leave a meal in a rush because Henry called, apologize to me, and leave me hanging. After it happened a few times, I confronted her. He doesn't have much time left. Let him be with his family, right? His family doesn't care about him much. He's from a single-parent home. I thought you'd understand. Like hell I do. It's fine if you visit him occasionally. No issue there. But stop acting like his live-in maid. Don't you have any boundaries? I've known him forever. He's got terminal cancer. He needs support. Can't you just... She trailed off, not finishing the sentence. Forget it. Forget it. I don't want to argue with you. You'd better not start any trouble either. Your own issues. Can you not blame them on me? She irritably scratched her head. I really can't do anything else. Felix, can you try to understand me? This is just for another month or two. Promise. I really just see him as a little brother. I won't bother you. Hang out with him if you want. No need to inform me. That Saturday morning, I got a call from Becky. Weren't you saying earlier you wanted to go to Disney? Yeah. Well, is that little brother situation sorted out? Just when I thought she realized her mistake and wanted to make it up, what she said next blew me away. Henry just said he wants to go too. Do you want to come with us? If you do, I'll get an extra ticket. I got pissed off immediately. Come with us? So I'm just tagging along while you take him. Sounds like I'm the third wheel here. No, I'm not going. Why not? Haven't you always wanted to go? She used to be quite smart. But ever since Henry attempted suicide, she's been rusty. Really can't stand it. Who goes to Disney and takes a little brother? Then I heard Henry's slightly hurt voice on the other end. Is Felix not coming? Because he holds something against me, or does my illness bother him? Becky, it's not that. It's because you kept calling me then. So he inevitably assumes things. Henry said, feeling wronged. Forget it, Becky. I know nothing I say will help. Maybe the two of you should just go. It doesn't matter to me anyway. Don't worry about my feelings. Hearing that, Becky felt guilty again. Don't talk like that. Felix, I can take him there next time. But I have to accompany you now. I hung up, not wanting to hear their back and forth on my phone. My heart felt a dull ache, almost making me sick. She didn't message me all day. At night, I saw Henry's grid post. Almost every picture showed Becky clinging to his arm, head resting on his shoulder, looking like a couple in love. The caption read, "You're the best to me." He even commented on it himself. Hey, stop guessing down there. It's not official, okay? This is just my childhood friend. But today at Disney, the photographer said we looked like a perfect match. Haha, almost forgot. This troublemaker is still in my contacts list. I deleted his contact info. Earlier this year, when Becky got her car, she promised she'd pick me up from work after. But she's not shown up even once lately. My gossip-loving colleagues kind of hinted, asking if we had broken up. I just replied with 2 words, almost. After the sadness, all that was left was accumulating disappointment. Wasn't this what Henry wanted after all? But I didn't want him to succeed so soon. Just then, a notification dinged. It was a voice message from Molly. Have you had dinner? I can't cook. Usually, Becky picks me up after work for dinner. But I've been ordering takeout for days now. Sick of it. Scanned the app for 10 minutes. Couldn't find anything appealing. Not yet. Planning to order in. You're home? Yeah. If you're home, I'll swing by and pick you up. Let's go get something nice. Takeout isn't healthy. Normally, I'd probably refuse, but right now, I didn't seem to have a reason to. She has her little brother. Doesn't everyone have a good sister? All right, come pick me up. Molly showed up quickly as always. Come on down. She wore a casual jacket today, her hair casually styled. She flashed a faint smile when she saw me. Suddenly, I remembered high school, when I'd often wait for her outside her classroom, waiting for her to finish late study sessions so she could bike me home. Her classmates all knew our relationship. As her buddies headed out in line, they called out, "Sister." Molly would laugh and scold, "Get out of here. Since when did my brother become your brother?" Then she'd ruffle my hair, put her arm around my shoulder as we headed downstairs. Don't go claiming sisters randomly. Got it? I never would. Hard to believe how many years have passed. I collected my thoughts, smiling at her. Sis. Yeah. What do you want to eat? Anything's good. During the meal, Becky sent me a message. Spent all yesterday at Disney, so tired I passed out when I got home. What are you up to? Baby? Not mad, right? I really wanted to laugh. She's become oblivious to whether I'm upset or not. I simply replied, "Let's break up," then set the phone aside. Molly asked, "What's up?" "Nothing. Just ended a relationship." You were right. My taste in girlfriends is indeed questionable. She gave a faint smile, the warm light casting gentle shadows on her face. Made her look especially kind. Girlfriends, you can date them for fun, but wives, that's different. She paused. Especially with ones like Becky, breaking up early is a blessing. I nodded, thought for a moment, and asked her, "But is that how you view guys too?" "Nope. What's that saying again?" She lowered her gaze to think. When men lack self-respect, they're like rotten cabbage. I finished for her. I laughed afterward. You actually know that saying? Not bad. So, don't misunderstand me. The strange. Becky once told me, said Molly was a heartbreaker, but I didn't really believe it then. Becky seemed so sure, though. Got me doubting a little. After all, Molly did have the looks to attract attention. The next day after work, a coworker came over and said to me, "Dude, help." A super hot girl appeared outside our office. Even my old married heart can't help but flutter. Not paying much mind, I asked, "How pretty?" "Gorgeous beyond words. Honestly, prettier than your girlfriend by a few times." Then he showed me a sneaky photo he took. Though I guess she was there to pick up her boyfriend, probably Molly, I thought. In coming down, I spotted that familiar yet unfamiliar figure in the distance. "Hey, beautiful." She walked towards me with a smile. "Only been a couple of days, and you're already this cheeky? No, you have no idea. You single-handedly blew up our company's chat group. Remember those high school breaks? Molly would pass by my building on her way to the snack shop. She'd always stop to give me some treats, causing quite the commotion on our floor. After she'd leave, I'd share the snacks with my friends, and they'd say, "Felix, I'm so jealous. Your sister is not only the school beauty but treats you so well." Made me feel pretty good. It's been years since then, and she still draws attention. "So why are you here? To pick up your boyfriend?" She looked at me. "To pick you up." That night, she took me out for dinner, and we talked for a long time. The initial awkwardness faded away quickly. "Picking me up after work? Huh?" I tilted my head. "That good? Huh?" She chuckled. "What's so good about that?" I had a couple of messages from Becky. After I broke up with her, I hadn't responded. She wrote, "Didn't we agree not to casually say the words breakup?" I know you're just throwing a tantrum, but I completely disagree with the breakup. Please respond, babe. I know you're mad. Mad that I haven't been there for you, haven't kept promises to pick you up after work. So I've got a girlfriend to cover for me. In the meantime, she'll pick you up while I'm with Henry. Followed by a few lovey emojis. Her solution was pretty one of a kind. I replied, as long as you're happy, I'm fine. But I hoped she knew my relationship with her. Becky replied, I know, Molly told me you've lived at her place for 10 years. That's why I trust her. She'll treat you like a brother just like I look after Henry. That's hard to judge. I put my phone away and asked Molly. So, Becky asked you to pick me up? You could say that. She grinned, tapping her fingers on the steering wheel or not. I was puzzled. Why, you don't want me picking you up? Nah, I'm cool with it. Didn't you also pick me up after school back then? But those times were simpler. The joy of wind rushing past as you cycled downhill. In the days that followed, Molly picked me up consistently, took me out to eat. Becky, on the other hand, seemed to vanish. I didn't bother chasing her down until half a month later, on my birthday. Becky suddenly showed up at my door, holding durians in one hand and a cake in the other. She joked, if you don't open up, the property management might kick me out for the smell. After setting down her things, she hugged me immediately. I pushed her away coldly. Ha! My colleagues celebrated at work already, I thought. Are you that stubborn? Colleagues can't compare to a girlfriend. It was my bad, not coming to you. I wanted to make it up on your birthday. Silly, did you think I forgot? Don't give me that. Aren't you going to be with your good brother? No, and she paused, he's actually here to celebrate with us. Something about her words didn't register until Henry jumped in, yelling, Happy birthday, brother. With a loud pop, his party popper scattered confetti everywhere. Suddenly, even the not-so-sweet air felt a bit stifling. If he wants to put on a show, I'll play along one last time. I know you've had misconceptions about me. You're Becky's favorite. I've really intruded on her time with you, sorry, he said, tears welling up. Becky quickly managed the tears with tissues, in a well-practiced manner. Don't cry, Henry. Felix isn't unreasonable. I crossed my arms, watching him. Unfazed, he continued, after I leave, you'll have Becky all to yourself. Enough, today's my birthday, not an apology session. I wasn't moved, though Becky teared up, asking, you guys handle the cake? I'll open the durian. Henry chimed in, I'll cut the cake. No need, I replied. Annoyed, he insisted, brother, let me, or are you going to hold a grudge after my apology? I stopped. Stop the act. Aren't the fake tears tiring? Your apologies don't count for anything. His expression changed. Ha, so what? Becky can't stand my tears, you know? Sitting by the coffee table, he said defiantly, you can't stop me from joining you guys, and you can't stop me from cutting the cake. I grabbed the plastic knife before him, not expecting he'd snatch it back with a sudden fierce energy, unlike his earlier feigned fragility. In the scuffle, I got a cut. I touched my chin, it was bleeding. Momentarily shocked, he said, your face, and I slapped him, a sharp smack ringing out, you don't have stomach cancer, it's brain cancer, right? Becky rushed in. Seeing the scene, Henry clutching his cheek. Becky, I accidentally cut Felix's face. I'm sorry. I lifted him by the collar. Stop crying at every little thing and just explain. Enough. Felix. Becky snapped, interrupting me. She sheltered Henry, glaring at me like I was some beast. He's dying. What's there to argue? Her eyes showed deep disappointment. He's got so little time left, and you're making a big deal out of a scratch? It's just a little cut on your chin. Is it seriously more important than his life? If I was just disappointed in her before, now I'm utterly disgusted. I want to shove her head into a cake to wake her up. Henry's still alive. But that clear-headed Becky who used to be all about me? She's dead for good. I grabbed the cake and slapped it on her face. Get out. I'm done. Becky coldly said, let's break up. I was gonna say that if you didn't. After a loud door slam, all that's left is dead silence. Becky used to say, with me around, you'll never be wronged. Unfortunately, my biggest grievance came from her. I slowly crouched down in front of the sofa. Maybe it's the overwhelming grievance or the bottled-up disappointment. Eventually, it all broke free. But half an hour later, the doorbell rang again. I thought it was Becky and didn't plan to answer. "Get lost, can you? You're so noisy." But then Molly's familiar voice came through. "It's me, Molly." I opened the door pretending everything was fine and smiled at her. "Hey sis, what brings you here? I texted you from downstairs, and you didn't reply, so I came up. I hadn't checked my phone." I opened the door, turned around, but then she gently grabbed my wrist. She pulled me in front of her. What happened? The smile on her lips vanished, replaced by anger. "Who hurt you, Becky or her male friend?" Looking at her, I told her about all the crap that just went down. "Listen to me, you shouldn't be bothered by this trash." Soon after, she got a call. "All right, I'm on my way." I thought she was leaving for something, feeling a bit down. Unexpectedly, she was just going to the door for a cake, along with a bouquet of my favorite tulips. She handed them to me. "Congrats on ditching trash today. Happy birthday, Felix." On the other side, Becky took Henry to her place and calmed him down for quite a while. Henry said, "How about I go down and apologize to Felix? It seems like he's really pissed. He didn't mean to and he just slapped you." Felix was way out of line this time. At midnight, after a hard time settling Henry in her guest room, the doorbell rang suddenly. Her first thought was, it's Felix. But he's still mad. And if Felix came to apologize, she wouldn't be ready to accept it yet. Thinking of this, Becky went to the entryway. But as soon as she opened the door, before seeing clearly who it was, she felt a hot slap on her cheek. She winced in pain, holding her face, and then realized it was Molly standing there, furious. "Hey, what are you doing? What did I do to you? Who's your sister? Don't you know what you've done? Still got water in that head of yours?" Becky remembered Molly rarely swore. It was the first time she saw her this mad. As soon as her brain clicked, Becky got hit with a couple more punches. Dodging, she said, "All right, I get it, you're standing up for Felix, but hear me out. If your head's all mixed up, don't bother Felix. I don't care about your excuses. Aren't you reasonable? I thought of you as a sister." But Molly didn't listen to her reasoning. She was gone after laying it all on Becky. After taking that beating, Becky felt utterly pissed. To be honest, if it weren't for working under Molly, she wouldn't have restrained herself. But thinking it through, she realized she was in the wrong. Back at Felix's place, she was too focused on keeping Henry, who has cancer, unbothered, that she didn't consider Felix got his chin cut too. Her mind's been all about Henry's stomach cancer lately. The spots where Molly hit still stung. Thinking of it, Becky frustratingly ran her fingers through her hair. Whatever, let them both cool off. When he's calmed down, she'll buy him a more expensive gift. He should be fine then. Waking up in the morning, I felt incredibly refreshed. As I pulled the curtains, I saw the first light on the horizon. Thanks to Molly, I'm gonna remember parts of my 25th birthday fondly. She stayed with me all night, chat, and cheered me up until deep into the night. Somewhere along the way, I dozed off on the couch. But waking up, I was in bed. The living room was quiet. She was still there on my couch, legs curled a bit, one hand on her forehead, silent like a peaceful stone. Quickly, I grabbed a light blanket from the bedroom and gently covered her. Then I snuck into the kitchen to make 2 bowls of noodles. When I put the noodles in, Molly's voice came from behind. "Impressive, you can cook noodles now." I turned around, and she smiled warmly. "Not too bad. 3rd best in the world." I chuckled, but I can't guarantee they taste good. Back when I stayed at her place, she always made breakfast on weekends. Usually, she cooked noodles for me while I just waited in the living room. "By the way, I'm planning to move soon. Got any suggestions for a place?" "Sure." She came to my side. "Just depends on if you like it. The apartment I'm in now, Becky and I found it after graduating. That time, Becky wanted us to live together, but I didn't want to. We'd only been dating 6 months. In the end, she was on the 7th floor, I on the 10th. But now, being in the same building with her feels incredibly uncomfortable." I blocked and deleted all of Becky's contacts. With Molly's help, I quickly moved out of the apartment. She and Henry are better off being stuck with each other, so they don't harm anyone else. Finding the right place to live isn't easy. Molly let me crash at her place for a while. I was a bit unsure, like, won't it be inconvenient for you? I mean, we're both grown-ups now. She chuckled. You never found it inconvenient those 10 years you stayed with us. Now you're being all picky about it before you find a place. All right, guess I'll be hanging around at her place then. Stop trying to say no. I had quite a bit of stuff. I was worried she might not have room for it all, but turns out that was just me overthinking. Her home is in a villa complex, right in the bustling city center, but nice and quiet. More than enough space for just one more person. Before I arrived, she'd already tidied up a room for me. Got some new sheets and everything. She planned it all out perfectly. And then she helped me organize all my clutter. Finally, she handed me 2 keys, one for the main door and one for my room. I started to get more convinced that breaking up with Becky was a good move. Her first love drama popped up at the right moment. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen what she was really like so soon. I quit my job not out of rashness. I had plans to move anyway. After quitting, Molly took me on a road trip. The beautiful scenery gradually patched up my crumpled heart. That night we got back. I went to see my buddy who sings at a bar. I sat and drank while he sang Happy Breakup just for me. When he finished, he joined me. Women are everywhere, man. We ain't missing one. Every time he badmouthed Becky, we down a shot. Pretty soon I was losing to him. I'm done, man. I'm gonna barf if I keep going. He clicked his tongue. I wanted to trash her some more. You're already tapping out. I'll get you home, he said as he reached to help me up. But right then my phone rang. He looked and said, hey, it's your sister. I'll answer it. I don't know what he said, but Molly showed up pretty quickly. When we got out of her car, I stubbornly refused her help. It was a wobbly struggle to the door. Then, when the elevator opened, I grabbed her arm. Hey, do all women like having a good little brother? She squatted down to take my shoes off. You're drunk. I'm not drunk, Molly. Even if you drink, I wouldn't be drunk. Just tell me, do you have a ton of good little brothers? Or am I just another one? I didn't even know what I was saying. It wasn't something I'd normally say. Her eyes got all serious and intense. You don't think I see you as a brother, do you? Silence hung in the air for a while. Molly looked down at me. You asked if all women love good little brothers. Well, let me tell you something. She locked eyes with me deeply. No, I never wanted to be your sister. Never, not before, not now. Honestly, I didn't know what to say. But her intense gaze made me feel like I should kiss her. So I did. I leaned in, planted a gentle kiss on her lips. Molly, what do you want to be with me? She froze for a second, then pushed me onto the couch, pinning me down. When I was nearly out of breath, she pulled back just a little and whispered against my nose. You kissed me. You already know the answer. When I woke up the next morning, my head was pounding. I turned over, half awake, and suddenly there was Molly, right there beside me. My heart raced a bit. Images of last night's kisses flashed in my mind. We kissed on the couch first, then things got fuzzily romantic in bed afterward. God, was that all just a dream? I got up, went to the living room, poured a glass of cold water, and touched my face. Felt squeaky clean. Then, a pair of slender arms wrapped around my waist. Molly hugged me from behind, her voice all sleepy. You're up. Yeah, got a headache. The morning sun was shining outside. There was a gentle breeze, and curtains gently swayed. My heart was racing. Come sit down, she said. Her fingers pressed rhythmically on my temples. Her scent of sandalwood drifted over. Feeling better? She asked. Yeah, much better, I replied. After washing up, we went out for breakfast. I tried to act all casual when I asked. So, did anything happen between us last night? She raised an eyebrow. What do you mean anything? You know, like that. Her laugh had a mischievous edge as she pulled me into a hug. I can't recall. Want to give me a demo? She clicked her tongue, kissed me for a bit and said, you kissed me like this. Now you want to back out? Little late for that. Wait, I did that? She laughed. Should have recorded it to prove it. You wouldn't back out like now. I'm not backing out, just clarifying. Yeah, we kissed. But nothing more. I'm not one to take advantage. My face felt hot all of a sudden. This cheeky girl really twisted my words. I didn't mean it that way at all. Honestly, I liked you since high school. I admitted, not kidding. I had a crush on you back then. Then in 12th grade, my mom told me your sister's boyfriend is so handsome. They look great together. Took me a week to get over it and stop having feelings for you. But who'd have thought? After all this time, what I wanted at 17 is starting to blossom at 25. Meanwhile, Becky just got some good news. When Henry went for a checkup, something miraculous happened. His condition improved. She believed it was her constant presence that did the trick. She planned to take him out for a celebratory meal. The place was super popular, with 2 rows of folks waiting outside. She and Henry got in line too. That's when she noticed the restaurant across the street had closed. That's where she took Felix for their first date. Just thinking about Felix's name got her all worked up again. He's probably regretting breaking up with her now. This was the biggest fight they'd ever had, and there was no way she'd back down first. She wasn't in the wrong, he was the one making a big fuss. She was determined to ignore him for 2 months, so he'd learn to reflect on his behavior. As she was thinking this, she opened her phone and started scrolling through Twitter. Then she stumbled upon Molly's tweet from last week. With him now. Whoa, he got a boyfriend. She squinted to look closer, and in the next second, she felt like she was struck by lightning. Henry noticed something was off. He peeked at her phone and said with a cheerful tone, "Wow, Felix has a new girlfriend." His voice was unusually excited, but Becky frowned deeply. "I thought my brother just broke up. Would at least wait a year or 2 before dating again. Never expected him to find someone new so quickly." Henry looked puzzled. "Seems like he's still," but she cut him off. "Don't jump to conclusions. He's probably just doing this to spite me. No way, they're already kissing." Just then, the restaurant called their number, and Henry pulled her by the arm to leave. "Come on, Becky, our table's ready." But Becky's face didn't look good, and she was at her wit's end. "No, I need to get to the bottom of this. Go ahead and eat. I'll catch up after I figure this out," she told her friend. She hadn't reached out to Felix in ages. Speeding in her car, she was texting him with one hand. "What's going on with you and her?" But as soon as she sent the message, a glaring red exclamation mark popped up. She hit the steering wheel in frustration and hurried to the 10th floor of his apartment. She knocked so hard her hand almost broke. But Felix didn't open the door. After some time of knocking, 2 cops showed up. They pinned her to the ground without a word. "You're under suspicion for harassment. You're making a mistake. My boyfriend lives here." At that moment, the door opened, but a stranger stood in the entryway. "Officers, don't listen to her nonsense. I just moved here recently, and I don't know her at all." Becky was in shock. She craned her neck to peer inside, but everything was unfamiliar. Felix had moved out. Her legs went weak, and she collapsed on the floor. She spent the night at the police station, refusing to believe the photos were real. The officers on duty could see her crying and just thought she'd been dumped. After listening to Becky's endless complaints, a young officer told her, "From a cop's perspective, I advise you to be smart about this. And from a man's perspective, I think you asked for it." On Monday at work, Becky was a mess. Her coworkers asked, "Didn't you sleep well? Why the dark circles?" She forced a laugh. "Haha, just stayed up late gaming." Finally, close to the end of the workday, she overheard coworkers whispering, "Wow, our boss's boyfriend is here." "No way, really? The boss has a boyfriend?" "Yeah. Didn't you see her post on Twitter with him before?" "How could I add the boss on Instagram at my level?" "Let me see, he's actually pretty handsome. Nice eyes. Hey, Becky, want to take a look?" But Becky felt a sharp pain in her heart. "No thanks, maybe it's fake." She clung to a sliver of hope that Felix had come for her. It wasn't entirely impossible. With renewed spirit, Becky gathered her things and left the office. Felix was waiting in the corridor, but he didn't stop, walked straight past her towards Molly. Becky clenched her fists. He was supposed to come for her. What right did Molly have? She felt like a thief, not daring to confront Molly directly at the office, so she followed them. Felix, arm in arm with Molly, was saying something as they walked to the parking lot. Only then did Becky call out to him, "Felix." When he turned to look at her, his smile vanished, gaze unfamiliar. "Do you need something from us?" Becky was bitter. "Why didn't you tell me you're with her?" Felix found it amusing. "Who are you? Why would I need to report who I'm with to you?" "Felix, I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd be this mad." But Felix wasn't listening and got in the car. Molly's eyes were mocking. In that moment, she couldn't say a word. The first time Becky introduced Molly to Felix, she noticed he looked at Molly differently than others. It made her uneasy, so she tried hard to paint Molly as a heartbreaker, since Felix hated women who couldn't be clear in relationships. But now, she angrily slapped herself, realizing she was the one who handled things poorly all along. When she got home, she found Henry had arrived at some point. "Hey, those are Felix's slippers. Don't wear them." Henry glanced at her timidly. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Becky tossed her briefcase onto the sofa in frustration. "Hey, I need to tell you something. Your condition's getting better, right? So, maybe it's time you move out of my place," she said. "I fulfilled all your wishes. Now hurry up and move back to your own home." Henry's eyes turned red again. Becky felt her tone was a bit harsh. "Sorry, I just need to have some alone time." She added, "Go back to your room for now." She downed several bottles of beer, trying to numb herself with alcohol. On her way to take a shower, while passing by Henry's room, Becky originally wanted to ask if he had packed his stuff, but accidentally overheard him on the phone with a friend. She stopped in her tracks. "What do I do? She's trying to kick me out again. I regret saying my condition improved." "Then just tell her your stomach cancer got worse, and act like you're crying in agony in front of her. Do the whole routine again. She'll be under your thumb." Right when Henry responded with agreement, there was a bang as the door swung open. When he turned and saw Becky standing at the door, he was actually in shock. "So, your stomach cancer was all a lie? You've been playing me this whole time?" Henry tried to fake innocence. "No, Becky. Please let me explain." Becky threw him out. "You made me feel like a joke. Get out of here. I never want to see you again." 10 minutes later, his suitcase, packed with clothes, was tossed out. "Go and never show up in front of me again. If your stomach cancer was fake, I hope it becomes real in the future." Henry knocked on the door for half an hour, feeling drained and tearless. He knocked so much that the neighbors were stirred, but Becky still didn't come out. He tried to get help from a couple next door. "I'm her boyfriend, we had a fight and she kicked me out." The man said, "Nah, I remember the guy next door didn't look like you. He was way better looking." The woman gave Henry a side eye. "That day, when there were two guys arguing next door, I was listening in for a while. You must be the side piece, and you got some nerve asking us to help you knock on the door." She added, "Be careful or I'll take a picture and post it online." Henry felt incredibly embarrassed and slinked away with his suitcase. Becky was a mess at work for several days before she finally quit on her own. She completely resented Molly and naturally had no intention of staying under her command. Late one night, she found an old photo of her and Felix, and the more she thought about it, the more upset she became. She drove all the way to Molly's place, not caring about the rain as she dashed into it. At that moment, Molly's phone alerted her that someone was at her door via the smart doorbell. She glimpsed at Felix sleeping quietly next to her and checked the live video on the app. Outside in the pouring rain stood a drenched Becky, frantically ringing the doorbell. "Felix, are you in there? You left in a hurry that afternoon. Can we talk properly? I know you're just trying to upset me. I'm sorry. Okay?" Becky pushed her soaked hair back, looking a mess. "Molly, come out and explain. I trusted you to take care of Felix. You taking it out on me is one thing, but stealing him from me?" Molly's gaze turned icy as she watched the video, thinking, she just won't leave us alone. She got up and quietly left the room, making a call. Not long after, security arrived and escorted Becky away. Previously, Becky had visited looking for Molly, so the security recognized her as a friend of Molly's, which is why they let her in. But they hadn't expected this friend would go crazy at night, making it seem like Molly had stolen her boyfriend. The guard worried about keeping his job while also sighing at how even someone of Molly's status could have such poor taste in friends. It's scared, saying, making a scene till morning won't help. You should head back, or we'll call the police. Becky left, wandering aimlessly through the streets, passing through the bustling downtown area. She stopped when she saw people watching something on a giant screen in a posh commercial building. It only took one glance for her face to turn pale. Congratulations to Ms. Molly and Mr. Felix on their engagement, wishing them a lifetime of harmony and happiness. Join the city in celebrating their engagement party tomorrow. Wow, they really look great together. Such a handsome couple. Molly's the second daughter of the company. Damn, she's quite the beauty. Someone whispered. I heard they grew up together, childhood sweethearts. Someone took a picture of a distraught woman standing beneath the screen, umbrella-less, crying her eyes out, looking utterly clownish. During Molly's first summer break from college, when Felix was fresh out of high school, she had planned a trip to Xinjiang with him, something he'd always wanted. But before they could set off, she received a text from him. Sis, I have a girlfriend. I won't be using this number anymore. She canceled the tickets to find him, reluctantly accepting that he really did see her as just a sister, though she harbored feelings for him she shouldn't have. The next time she saw him was at an insignificant gathering. He appeared just as she'd imagined, growing into a handsome young man. The moment she saw him, she was thrilled like never before. She just wanted to hug him right away. But there was someone really annoying standing next to him. She had never found Becky so unpleasant until now. She wished Becky would just disappear from the world. Crazy thought, right? But it didn't matter because they were together now, and she felt more like the outsider. So, she had to act all cool and distant. She worried that after they reconnected, she might intrude on him, and that would probably just cause him trouble. Luckily, fate gave her a break. Becky wasn't the right match for him. She was mad at Becky for being deceitful but also glad she had the chance to love him freely again. It seemed like making the same New Year's wish for 7 years finally paid off a little. She could finally tell him how much she adored him. With that thought, she stood on her toes and kissed his forehead. Where have you been? Felix asked drowsily. Did someone come by? No one, just go back to sleep, she replied. It was pouring outside. The rain kept falling, but she felt more at peace in his arms than ever before. Keep raining, keep raining. Once it stops, tomorrow will be a fresh, sunny day.